Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're your hosts. I am Justin.
And I'm Challie.
This podcast is a space where we explore practical ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit to create a happier and healthier life.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you are experiencing emotional distress or mental health concerns, please seek support from a licensed therapist or a qualified healthcare provider.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Today is going to be a little bit different because Charlie's not here today to be able to record, so I'm going to do a solo episode. So this is going to be kind of talking about fear of failure, and I feel like this is a pretty good topic as this is the first time I'm going to be doing an episode by myself. So something that I can talk about that is near and dear to my heart right now is the fear of failure. As we talked about a little bit before on some previous episodes, that I'm going to be going through some change. I'm going to be completing school, so I'm going to be finishing my master's degree in social work. I'm then going to be transitioning to new employment, which is going to be really different. I have always worked in a clinic type setting, and I'm going to be going to a different setting and working with kids, which is so very different. I've always worked with co-occurring disorders, but primarily been in substance use. So this is a whole different ballgame for me. So a lot of what has been coming up for me recently has been feeling this fear of failure. So thinking about what fear of failure is the unknown. Thinking about what is on the opposite side or the other side of what we are doing now. And this can many times prevent us from taking that leap or from even starting things that we might really be interested in and things that we might really succeed in. But this fear, this doom may really just keep us stuck where we're at rather than being able to take that step to move forward. So thinking about fear of failure, it is something that is super common, especially this day and age when we're seeing so much on social media and we compare ourselves to so many other people, and we don't really get to see where other people may have those hurdles or have fallen, and we just see where people are succeeding. So there's this natural bias that we're going to compare ourselves to them, and that, well, we're not going to be as good because we didn't see anybody else fail. So being able to think about this in a little bit of a different way is breaking it down into what is really fueling this fear of failure. So it can be maybe not feeling as though we're good enough. Maybe we're dealing with some perfectionism. Maybe we are setting some unrealistic expectations for ourselves. That's one that I really commonly do, is set these unrealistic expectations, and I can't live up to them. Nobody can live up to them. But I somehow put this pressure on myself that I have to do all the things all the time and have it be perfect the first time that I'm doing it. And, well, being unrealistic, it's just not a possible thing to accomplish. And sometimes our human is going to show up. And it is important to remind ourselves that we are human, that we're not going to be great at everything we do the first time. Sometimes it's going to take a few different tries for something to work. And a lot of success can come out of that failure. It's also, I know for me, I tend to really be fixed on what the outcome is going to look like, and I try to plan everything out and have it be perfect. And then anything that is even slightly outside of that, I view as a failure or as not working out good enough or not being good enough. So this can really show up in so many different areas. It can be within our family, it can be within employment, it can be within school. There are just so many different times that this might be showing up and actually preventing us from doing the things that we would really enjoy doing or that we could really excel at. But we're not taking that opportunity because we don't want to fail. We don't want to be responsible for things not working out the way that we thought they were going to be. So then we just remain stuck in this position, and it can be a really tough rut to get out of. So looking at this, it can be not knowing what success really looks like or what it takes to succeed in something. Back to that piece of comparing ourselves to others, many times we don't see the struggles or the challenges that other people go through to get to where they are. So this can be really challenging to give ourselves credit and to remain confident in ourselves, even when we might not be doing the thing perfectly the first time, because we have to start somewhere. So thinking about failure as a stepping stone to be able to get to the greater success that we can start to problem solve through these points of failure and be able to gain something out of it, maybe take a lesson from it and be able to understand that something really great can come out of a few mistakes. Being able to also look at how we are learning from each step that we're taking and that our outcome may potentially change. So rather than viewing it as a failure if things don't work out exactly the way we thought they were going to, taking that as an opportunity for growth can be so important. Back to the unrealistic standards or unrealistic expectations that we set for ourselves. I know I do that so commonly, and this is something that holds me back. I can even think about this when it comes to those adult coloring books. I would love to do one, and I would get one, and I would get the pencils and the markers out, and then I'd look at it, and then I would start to stress myself out that I was gonna do it wrong. So then I didn't know what color was gonna go with the different color, and I didn't know if I was gonna be able to complete it. I came up with all of these different scenarios in my head, and then I didn't even start the coloring. So I deprived myself of something that I really enjoyed or really thought I was going to enjoy by not even starting it because I psyched myself out that I was going to fail at it in something so simple, something that was supposed to be relaxing, ended up causing so much stress that I just put it down and didn't even do it. A solution that I found with that was taking a little bit less control of it and just picking up a pen or marker and starting to color one spot. I also got some of the coloring books that had more of a design where there was a little bit less choice rather than the ones with the big patterns. So being able to start somewhere and just do it rather than thinking about all the ways that I was going to mess it up. So thinking about that, it shows up somewhere so simple as a coloring book. Thinking about where this shows up in other places when you're trying to make decisions. If I struggled that much with that first part of making the decision of doing a coloring book, how the heck do I get through making other decisions that have potentially real consequences? Talking about career, talking about life, talking about school, and holding myself to these unrealistic expectations. Sometimes I didn't even start to do things. I wouldn't even have the conversation with the person that I really wanted to because I thought that I was going to mess it up and I wasn't going to say the right thing. So just starting somewhere can help break some of these unrealistic expectations and being able to give ourselves a little bit of grace and a little bit of credit for wanting to do the thing, whatever that is, but being able to just start somewhere and then we can build off of that. That being said, also thinking about how we can make sure that we're not looking at failure as an end all be all and that failure can actually be stepping stones to making progress or being able to figure out what we like and what we don't like. And that can be in various situations. Underneath this many times when we're feeling that concern and that unrealistic expectation can be the fear of rejection and that we don't want to not do something because it's uncomfortable. So then as a human, we don't want to live in discomfort. So our body and our mind is going to reject that. And it's also going to make us feel like we don't want to do something because we felt that rejection in the past. So it can be tougher to push through that, most definitely. But being able to sit in that discomfort and know that it is okay to be uncomfortable and that growth really comes from stepping outside of our comfort zone. So being able to look at how we might be able to overcome that in many different areas can be just taking that first step and getting in that discomfort and then feeling it out rather than psyching ourselves out and not even taking that step. Perfectionism is another really big piece that plays a role into this fear of failure, thinking that we have to be perfect, that everything has to work out the right way the first time, and that we only have one chance to do this. We are able to learn from those mistakes. We're able to gain a different perspective on something that might actually make us be successful in whatever we were really setting out to do. So, challenging some of this perfectionism is going to be a key part in overcoming this fear of failure. Perfectionism can be a result of so many different things in our life. Maybe when we were growing up, we felt like we had to be perfect. We couldn't make mistakes. We had to show up for everybody else. This could also be if we picked it up through employment, that when we were getting our first job or whenever we're getting a job, could be even to the job that we have today, feeling as though there's no room for error. And that another layer on top of it, if we're to get yelled at or we're to be scolded or then left out of things because we messed something up, it's going to really drive that home to us that we feel like we have to be perfect at everything. And talking about an unrealistic expectation, perfectionism is unrealistic. We are never going to be perfect at everything. Mistakes are going to happen. Mistakes are where we can learn from. And it's so important when we're thinking about perfectionism to think about where this may have developed for us so that we can get to that core piece of it and heal that part of ourselves. It is challenging. It is so challenging when we're dealing with perfectionism to try and take that step back and peel back those layers and see where this had come from. I know for me that it came from a lot of people pleasing. I wanted to make sure that I did the right thing or that I always showed up for the people around me in the perfect way, and I didn't leave myself room for mistakes or error. So it could be people pleasing. It could be the environment that we grew up in childhood. It could be the different places that we felt as though we had to be perfect, and then that becomes our normal. And we live in a very fast-paced world right now, so it can many times feel like we have to do things perfectly or we're going to be looked over for that promotion or looked over for being chosen for something, or we're going to be left out of those friendships because we're not showing up exactly the way that someone else wanted us to. And looking at that, it can be really important to know that we don't have to be the right fit for everything, but we will find where we are supposed to be and where we're needed the most. And that's going to be the best place for us. So trying to fit into all of the different pieces and putting this pressure on ourselves to be perfect in every different area at every task that we have is just going to put so much stress on us. And that's not healthy at the end of the day. So being able to think about the ways that we can show up and we can show up well, that's the effort that we can really put in, and then try and minimize this sense of perfectionism and having to be perfect in every area because it's not realistic. We're human. We have strengths and we have areas of improvement. So if we can identify more of those areas of strength, that's going to help us build in all of these different areas. When we're thinking about challenging perfectionism, or when we're thinking about challenging our fear of failure, it's going to be really important to be kind to ourselves, to give ourselves some grace. And many times we would give our loved ones or our best friend or the people that we work with grace, and we would give them the opportunity and we would be kind to them when they make a mistake. So we got to try and do that with ourselves as well. We have to get rid of the expectation that we're never going to fail. It's going to happen. We're going to make mistakes, but how can we utilize that to grow? Because growth is really the best piece that's going to come out of this failure. So many great successes have come out of failure, and it's so important to be able to see what is coming out of it rather than just viewing it as the failure and that's where it ends. We can learn something from it. We can learn why it didn't work out the way we thought it was going to. We can learn, and then we're going to be able to modify whatever we're doing to be a little bit better, and we're going to tweak it. And then we're also going to get some practice with this. I know there have been so many times for me that I have taken on a task for the first time and just expected myself to be able to do it perfectly, and then was really disappointed with myself, even sometimes using the word defeated in not being able to do something right the first time when it really takes some skill and some practice to be able to hone in on whatever that skill is, and being able to give ourselves that grace in that period of time to work on it is going to allow us to be able to look at the mistake as a learning experience rather than just viewing it as a failure and never going back to it. We're going to lose out on so many opportunities if we just continue to view it as that. And I have. I have missed out on many opportunities because I didn't want to take that step back and look at how things could have been done differently. I just viewed it as I'm not good at this, so I'm never going to do it again. I know this comes up with kids so many times, being afraid to get out and do something because we're not going to be good at it. And I just want to encourage and speak from this experience that we're not going to be perfect and we're not going to be great at the things the first time, maybe sometimes even the fifth time that we're trying something. But if we keep on practicing, we're going to make that progress. Also, unrealistic to have this expectation that we're always going to succeed all of the time. Nobody succeeds all of the time. And truly, some of the greatest things come out of having to take that step back and view something differently, gain a different perspective, and be able to look at things a different way. And I don't think that there's anybody who has been successful that would sit there and say that they never had a time that they had to take a step back and view things differently. Many times it is the key to success is seeing the way that things didn't work. Many times when you're looking at the areas that didn't work, and then if you are able to hone in on where the things didn't work to find the opportunity out of that, and you're going to make that the way that you succeed, because that might be the part that you didn't think about or other people didn't think about, and that's what got missed. So then also being able to think about the benefits of failure, looking at the opportunity that comes out of it, looking at the conversation that can come out of it. It allows us an opportunity to ask for help or ask questions and be able to see how someone else was able to work through something, because we're human. We're not expected to know everything all of the time. And that can allow an opportunity for a conversation to come up of who has accomplished something, whether that be in school, in careers, in just life in general. It can be so important to reach out to the people around us and see how they have been able to work through the different things that we're experiencing. Thinking about this with parenthood, there is no manual that comes out, and being able to lean on the people around us can be so important and can give us a different way of looking at things and gives us a different perspective. When we are thinking about different points in career or employment, being able to lean on the people around us to see how they were successful is going to be one of our biggest keys because they've done it. Being able to learn from the people around us is one of the most valuable skills, and being able to open up our hearts and know that we don't know everything and always being in a learning mindset is going to be much more beneficial for us. And we're going to become a much better leader or parent or student or employee when we are viewing things with that opportunity and curiosity rather than just looking at it as I know everything and I can't learn anything. That's also going to make whatever we're doing more fulfilling. It's going to give us the opportunity to give back to the people around us and being able to just show up, whether it be our employment, and just show up that we feel like we're making a difference. We can do that from a curious mindset rather than a fixed mindset. One of the last pieces that I think is one of the most important pieces when we're looking at the fear of failure is going to be believing in ourselves and having faith in the fact that we can make it through, that we are resilient. And this comes in so many different ways. I know I tend to challenge the belief in myself, especially when I get anxious or I feel like things are not working out. I panic and then I have no belief in myself, and I just think that I'm just going to curl up and not make it through it, when I have to remind myself that I've made it through all of those other tough times. Maybe it wasn't exactly the way that I wanted to, exactly the way that I thought I was going to, but I have to remember that I made it through it. And for me, it was because I was able to view those failures as mistakes, and I took that as an opportunity to be able to learn from the people around me, to lean on the people around me, and to think about the ways that I've overcome challenges in the past. Because we're always going to come up to some challenges. We're always going to come up to something that is unknown or is different. And if we just shy away from it every time, we're going to stay stuck. And there's so much that we can learn, so much that we can offer when we are able to step outside of that comfort zone and gain a better understanding and a different perspective on what we are doing and then what we are able to offer. So, in wrapping up talking about this fear of failure, I think it's going to be really important to just remind ourselves to give ourselves that grace and to be able to give ourselves some compassion that we would share with the people around us and be able to view failure as an opportunity rather than as a end all be all. We're able to make mistakes and we're able to work through those mistakes. The more that we do that, we're going to learn that we can fight through that discomfort and it's going to become more comfortable to push through and to be able to figure out how to problem solve and to be able to look at different perspectives. And we're going to do it sooner, do it quicker, and to just become so much more confident in ourselves. And then we're going to have more self belief. So, thank you guys for joining this week. I appreciate you guys listening. Please share any of your experiences with this fear of failure, how it maybe has held us back from something. I'd love to be able to hear ways that you have been able to overcome it and ways that we can work together and share that. Thank you so much for joining this week and have a great day.